I have changed today's subject at the very last minute to deal with a subject that has fascinated me for the longest time, and that is the death penalty. Because as you know, or may not know, last night, a fellow by the name of Kenneth Smith was executed by nitrogen. Nitrogen hypoxia or nitrogen anoxia. He was sentenced to death for the 1988 murder for hire of a woman, I believe a preacher's wife who was stabbed repeatedly so that there could be some collection for a life insurance policy. He was originally, he had his case reversed on appeal, and then the Supreme Court reversed it. And the second case, I believe the jury voted 11-1 for life, but the judge overrode it and said, "Oh no, 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 we're gonna kill him." And the first case was botched because they couldn't find the vein. They actually called it off and said, "We're going to do it again." Because the first time they didn't get the vein. Now think about that one. You don't see that too often, okay? This is the one. This is the one that gets me. Now, for the longest time, I have been an absolute. I am fascinated by this. Since I first got into talk radio, those many years ago, and being from Florida, which was I think it still is, the capital punishment capital of the world. Oh, we just cranked people out left and right. Ted Bundy. I remember when Ted Bundy was finally put to death. I'll never forget that. In Stark, Florida, there was this very tiny little street that separated one side of the protesters from another. It wasn't even a street; it was just like a path where the funeral hearse, which is redundant, would drive, and you would have pro capital punishment here and anti. I mean, right next, and they would always be fighting. And there was a woman who had a sign that says "Shock a Khan." I thought that was fascinating. Shock a Khan. And I thought to myself, we are a country that loves death, loves it, but we swear we're pro-life. And nobody cares about these people. These people are all dirtbags. All of these people, all of these horrible, they commit terrible offenses. Nobody cares for them. They never do. You never get the death penalty for, shoplifting. It's always murder. These are terrible people. And nobody cares about them. Nobody cares about them because they're murderers. And nobody's expected to care about them because they're murderers. And that's the way that is. And it always works like that. It's one of these things that just, I don't understand how anybody can miss that point. These people are disgusting. They're vile, horrible, horrible people. But we claim that we're a Christian country and we talk about the right to life. The unborn, granted, an unborn child in a mother's womb is nowhere similar to a murderer, other than the fact that it's God's child, other than the fact that it's God's creation, and that God has said, "No, no, no, this is mine. You don't kill my creation. You don't kill him in war. You don't kill him." And we think maybe war sometimes, the Bible was filled with war. Maybe in the case of self-defense, the defense of others. Maybe if other people are, their death is warranted in order to prevent the unnecessary death of someone else. Maybe, just maybe in that case. But short of that, no. We love the death penalty. I mean to tell you, we love it. And it's one of those things that it's the greatest discussion ever. Let me see. Death penalty states so far. We have. Let me see. Capital punishment was used by 6 of 50 states in 2022. 6. Isn't that something? Government executions, as reported by Amnesty International, took place in 20 of the world's 195 countries. 6. Isn't that something? Now, what does that mean? Nothing. Doesn't really mean anything to anybody, really, frankly. Doesn't mean much to anybody. Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about this because these people are dirt bags, and that's the way that is. And nobody's gonna lose. Look at the states with the death penalty. It says now, according to this, it says 27 states without it. 23. I don't know if they actually carry them out. But here's the part that I don't. That's not the issue. The point that I find interesting. What I find fascinating is the argument, and it normally goes like this: who cares? That should be the American. That's our favorite phrase for virtually everything. Who cares? Who cares about this? Who cares about that? Who cares about Taylor Swift? Who cares about that? And other countries and other people. Who cares? We don't care. Okay, fine. Maybe that's a good way to be. Maybe if you care too much, you waste a lot of angst and that sort of thing. And I understand that. But that's our number one thing. Who cares? Number two, these people are killers. They're killers. Again, who cares? And they should have thought about this. And that the death penalty works as a deterrent because they'll never kill again, right? That's one of my favorites. And people will actually think that's a kind of a clever phrase. They really, they do. They say, well, they're not going to, they're not going to kill again. I can guarantee you that. No siree. And then we also have this idea about, because most people, I think this is really pretty much I don't want to say a Christian country, not officially, but most people are Christian. And if there's one thing Jesus knows about, it's the death penalty. And he's not too crazy about the death penalty. I don't think. In fact, keep in mind one thing, Jesus was guilty. Because Jesus was the Son of God, right? So I mean, they got that right. And it's fascinating the way we think about this. And the question is, and I know I'm wasting my time, but do we ever, as a society, do we ever lose anything? Do we lose our souls, our self, our humanity? Do we in any way lose our humanity by virtue of not just killing people, but going out of our way in this kind of a ghoulish, and it is sometimes, it's ghoulish because we all we love to, how do I say this? We love to pretend, we love to talk it up and make jokes, and it's just the way we've done it forever. The way we used to have parties, we used to have actual lynching parties where kids and people would come. If you had executions on TV, which I've always advocated, look, if you're going to do it in my name, might as well see what you're doing. What's interesting to note of that is people will kind of sort of look the other way. Maybe it's the strangest thing. They kind of look the other way and think, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I want to discuss that with you. I want to discuss this, and I want to try. And I know we're not going to get a lot of it. I know nobody is going to say, what? Humanity? No. I can't even get people to even acknowledge or talk about Israel and Palestine because, well, that's another story. But it's fascinating, our reaction. So let me just remind you of this, dear friends. Let me just say thank you for being with us. Sorry for the switcheroo. I changed it because I wanted to talk about this because I absolutely love this topic. Let me also remind you, on a lighter note, on February the 3rd, I will be at the Cutting Room, and tickets are still available right now, my friends. Tickets available. We will not be talking about this unless you have any questions about it, because you're going to be doing a lot of the questions, and if it comes up, so be it. This is a critical story. So February 3rd. So let me ask you right off the bat, dear friends, is there anyone, let's get this out of the way, of those individuals watching. Are you in favor of the death penalty? Yes or no? Number one or number two? Honest question. You are entitled to your opinion. An honest question. Yes or no? Not let people go. It's life in prison versus the death penalty. I think this was 1988. So we have a no, a yes, a yes, a yes. We have one no, two no's. Let me count the no's, because the no's are going to be the rarity. It's not a P. Okay. No, we got no more no's. Oh, more no's than I thought here. I don't want to ever say your name out. I'm just going to say no. It's very interesting. No. No. Yes or no? The number one for yes, the number two for no. Death penalty as a punishment. What do you think? Do you like that? Do you? And there's no, believe me, there's nothing. It doesn't make you demented or anything like that. Let me get rid of this. How about that? It'd be nice if I got rid of that, wouldn't it? I think so. There we go. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it would be, but do you think so? Do you think it makes sense? I know a lot of people who think it's, it makes a lot of sense. I got to okay. Someone brings up a case here. They have to be 100% certain the person actually is guilty. Now, there is this thing called the Innocence Project. Have you heard about that? Have you ever heard about the Innocence Project? This is very interesting. The Innocence Project. This is one of the most important issues in the world. The Innocence Project. This is Barry Scheck, Peter Neufeld, and they are, let me see, running the show. Remember, they did Barry Scheck was part of the Dream Team. Remember this one? And they did some wonderful jobs. And what they did was they actually have had people. They've overturned 300 convictions through DNA-based exonerations. 300. 300. That means ostensibly innocent people who would have been killed despite the fact that they're innocent. 300. So in all those cases, courts, juries, prosecutors, judges, appellate courts said they're absolutely guilty. 300. How does that work? What do you think about that? 300 people. Now, a lot of times, it's not a matter of DNA. In this particular case, he took a VCR from this woman's home, and when the husband who had contracted with these two miscreants, I think the first one was executed. When he contracted with this, he apparently had second thoughts and killed himself, and then they were investigating this. They went back later and found, lo and behold, they found this VCR. And the VCR led to him being fined. So a lot of these times, these cases have nothing to do with DNA whatsoever. Albania Hernandez, thank you so much. Shows how messed up our judicial system is. Only in cases where the evidence is absolute. 300 cases where the evidence was absolute were overturned, just involving in DNA. Like I said, a lot of times the confession wasn't really a good confession. Maybe it was coerced. Maybe they didn't have good counsel. I don't know if anybody cares about that. Maybe confessions are coerced. Who knows? Life in prison means color TV, 3 squares, soft mattresses, lots of buns. Wimpy. Those bastards live the life of Riley for the rest of their life. Color TV. Now, if it were black and white TV, maybe. How about no TV? Why do they have any TV? Imagine that for the rest of your life with no TV. Would that make any difference? No TV. How about that? Anybody ever been to a prison before? Anybody ever want to been to a prison? Color TV. They always talk about that. Color TV. What is this? It's like almost like what's behind that box? Monty Hall and a new color TV of Sylvania. Eyewitnesses are the worst, someone writes. That's true. 300 cases that were overturned by DNA alone. Does that make any difference to you? They had color TV, though, too. Color TV and a remote control, maybe with rabbit ears. It doesn't matter to you, does it? We have this idea that the hell with these people. What would Jesus say? Come on. You always tell me about Jesus. Tell me about Jesus with abortion. And by the way, that's an innocent child. That's a human being. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. But you say this is life. We talk about life in Israel or Gaza or Palestine or Vietnam. Well, Oppenheimer could be, this is great, right? Oppenheimer. It's a wonderful movie, the Academy Award. Do you know how many people Oppenheimer killed? Do you have any idea of how many people Oppenheimer killed? Let's check, right? Hiroshima, Nagasaki casualties. Look at this. Oh, The atomic bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II resulted in 129,000 to 226 casualties. Isn't that something? And that's not, we don't even know about, we don't even know how many people died later on the effects of between 90,000 and 146,000 people, 60,000 and 80,000 people at Nagasaki. Roughly half of them were killed that day. Not to mention the cancers and the horrible deaths and disfigurement. And we have a movie that we're celebrating. Yay, Oppenheimer. Yay. An eye for an eye. That's a good. You know what you get when you get an eye for an eye? Blind people. I worked in a jail as an RN. It's no picnic, color TV or not. Color TV. Isn't that funny? Somebody actually said the rest of your life in prison, never to have one day of any freedom whatsoever. Never. Freedom. Never. And somebody said, yeah, but they've got color TV. Actually said that. And don't feel bad. People say that because people say things sometimes almost out of a sense of, I don't know what the word is. They just make these things up. Color TV. They're actually saying color TV. They really said this. Isn't that funny? Doesn't that cracks me up? I'm sorry. I can't help this. Color TV. People really said that. They think that matters. And what about God? What about Jesus? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. But Jesus, well, I know, but we gotta be tough. Now let me ask you something, which is very, very important. Is there any evidence anywhere of the death penalty acting as a deterrent? And please, the only thing I ask you is don't use that corny line where you say, well, he'll never be able to get it again. Please. That's all I ask you. Do not give me that one. Please. But my question is there any evidence whatsoever of the death penalty acting as a deterrent? Anybody? And listen to me carefully. Does the death penalty act as a deterrent? Answer that, because I want to hear what you have to say for that one. Okay? Prison is a step up for some people. And a honey bun and magazine subscriptions? Oh, it's a step up. It sure is. Hey, this is pretty good. I got a color TV and magazine subscriptions. I've never had magazines. Somebody wrote that. I don't believe they meant that, but I think it's funny though. Magazines? You get magazines? You can play cards, maybe? You can go out and they exercise. They have it's like one big, it's like being in a gym. It's like being in they get in shape. You know what I mean? Huh? Ask old Jeffrey Epstein how they handle you. Jimmy says not a deterrent, but it was never intended to be. But was it ever intended to be? I'm not sure. Well, what do you think the whole purpose of putting people, what is the purpose of prison? They call it the penitentiary. Penitent. They always talk about people about whether a person has turned over a new leaf or whether they've changed. Ooh, they get law degrees. They get a law degree. What do you want to do with a law degree? You think they could be a member of the bar? Imagine passing that background check. Have you ever had any, because they ask you, parking tickets, misdemeanor convictions? Have you been divorced? Have you ever been the defendant in a civil case? Well, I was convicted of murder. I'm on death row. Okay, aside from that, have you ever had a misdemeanor, shoplifting, anything that goes to your character? Was convicted of murder. Yeah, yeah. But other than that, is there anything you can? Not really. Okay, you're in. You get a law degree and color TV. Color TV. You get color TV. Is this the greatest thing in the world? Now, let me ask you. This is the most important question. Does it act as a deterrent? What is the purpose of this? This is very important. Well, here's the issue about the deterrents. Number one, they don't know. How do you know if something acts as a deterrent? You don't know. Does anybody ever call the police and say, listen, I want you to know something? There's a person alive today that would have been dead had there not been the death penalty. Yeah, there was a liquor store I robbed. I'm not going to tell you where, but just want you to know I would have killed that clerk, but there's a death penalty. That's the only way you would tell if a deterrent works. How does that work? What is the purpose behind this? How many countries do not have the death penalty? How many countries do not have the death penalty? Look at this. Countries without death penalty. This kills me. Countries that have abolished the death penalty. Ready for this? Portugal, Denmark, Luxembourg, France, the Netherlands, Cyprus, Argentina, Australia, Haiti, Liechtenstein, Cambodia, Guinea, Djibouti, East Timor, Turkey, Yugoslavia, Liberia, Philippines, Albania, Latvia, Bolivia, Guinea, Chad. Let me see with some others. This was since 1976. I think. Yeah, this is 1976. We don't care about that. As of 2023, 112 countries do not use the death penalty. In 2022, 4 countries abolished it. Kazakhstan, I believe. Which countries do not have the death penalty? This is very good. I believe Israel does not have it. Isn't that something? Let me see. Hang on. That's the one. This is the one that always gets me. The ones that don't say that you would think. Capital punishment. Okay, how many states? Yeah, these are 24 states. I want to see which countries. That's the one I like. Countries. That always gets me. Which countries do not? And by the way, and they got some pretty nasty murders elsewhere. In 2023, 112 countries have abolished the death penalty for all crimes. Interesting. Now you might want to say, we don't care about that. We don't care about other countries. We don't care what they do. We don't care what they do. So what? The countries that, the 5 countries that were the highest number of people executed: China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the U.S. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah. But that's okay. That doesn't make us bad. And by the by, let me just say something to the so that you don't get the wrong impression. I'm not losing any sleep over this. Personally speaking, I'm not going to pretend to you that I'm one of these people that's crying. I'm just fascinated by how we love this. We love it. And it's not just the fact that we kind of like it. I mean, we love this stuff. Stand by for a second, dear friends. I know this may sound very odd, very strange, but it's a very interesting because you I, there's no way to introduce my pillow. I know what you're thinking. We're not going to go there, but on a nicer note, well, there's one thing: there's no my pillows in prison for the rest of people's lives. There might be TVs, but there's no joke to be made for this. Just a tremendous ad for a tremendous product. All right, my friend. It's time to hail and salute our great friends at mypillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you get a free gift. No purchase necessary. I know a free gift. It's a tautology, so sue me. But listen carefully. What are we talking about? Giza Dream Bed Sheets, My Pillow 2.0, sheets, slippers, percales, towels, quilts, bedspreads, mattresses, mattress covers, mattress toppers, linens, kitchen towels, bathrobes, name it. Items to help you luxuriate and relax. Think about it. And they're monster sellers right now. Listen to me. Slippers. My slippers. Think about it. What do they do with My Pillow? They make things real soft and plush and comfy. How perfect. And when they apply that genius to slippers, look out. Look out. Look at the specials right now, but only if you use promo code Lionel. So go to mypillow.com/Lionel. Solid disproverbial. mypillow.com/Lionel or call 800-645-4965. Call right now and watch how fast Mike answers the phone. mypillow.com, the best. I never understood what is so special about murder. I really don't. I don't understand what's so special about murder. Why don't we allow the death penalty in rape? Child rape. Why murder? I don't get it. Does that make any sense to you? Why is murder so important? The United States Supreme Court prohibits the execution for crimes committed at the age of 15 or younger. 19 states have laws permitting the execution of persons who committed crimes at 16 or 17. Now, does that matter? Let me ask you a question. Is there any limit that you would have if you were in charge to how old you were if you were convicted of murder? Anything? Anybody? Vote right now. Any limitation? 15-year-old, 13-year-old. Some of these kids today are just diabolical. Anybody got any problem with that? Do you have any problem with that? Do you? Anybody? Anybody? I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's just murder. Our good friend here says no limits, none. 3 years old, 4 years old, doesn't matter. Any problem with people who are, quote, retarded, as they used to be called, people with minimal mental problem? Anything? Anybody with that? Anybody? Does anybody have any problems with that one? Anybody? Any? How about people who are mentally out of it? They don't know where they are. Complete schizophrenics. They think they're on the battleground. They don't know anything. How about schizophrenic children? Any limitations at all? Women, girls, children, crazy people? Anybody? Is there anybody? Any limitations? Do you have any problem with that? Come on. Tell me. Someone writes, gotta weigh the crime. What does that mean? So it's the crime and not the person. So if a 10-year-old commits a heinous crime, so a 35-year-old just shoot somebody in the head, no big deal. The 10-year-old should get the death penalty because what? That's more heinous? Is that the way that works? Does that make sense to you? Anything at all? Any problem with this? What about the fact if somebody was a war veteran, PTSD, had a flashback? What would you do about a woman who killed her abductor, killed her rapist? Death, it's murder. Does that make any difference to you? What if she's not able to put that across very well? What if she does it, but she's got a prior record? Think about this. How about an eye for an eye? A man who injures his countryman, as he has done, so it shall be done to him. Fracture under for fracture, eye under eye for an eye. Is that Leviticus? Do you want to go into Leviticus? Does anybody here want to actually use Leviticus as a form? Are you anybody here want to do this? Anybody? Come on. Anybody want to use the Old Testament as a basis for our jurisprudence? The Old Testament. Anybody? Anybody? Anybody for that? Come on, be honest. Who wants to use the Old Testament? Anybody? Come on, say so. Say so. As much pain as he was in it was nothing compared to Terry Schiavo suffered when the state murdered her. Did you know Terry Schiavo had no idea she was in a vegetative state and did not know anything? She was in a vegetative state and would look and make smiles out of a contorted kind of a rictus. Terry Schiavo had was like in a coma, but in a persistent vegetative state. Did you know that? Anybody? Anybody? See, it doesn't matter. I think Terry Schiavo, really? Terry Schiavo was just how about this one? Let me see this. Here's a good one. And what should be good news for intolerant religious conservatives? God really does hate people who are different from the norm. Of course, God isn't as worried about skin color or sexual orientation as he is about whether you're ugly or not. Because if you're ugly, you can just go worship for some other God, okay? Even though God will punish you if you do, and also they don't exist. Here's the people God does not want coming into his churches: people with blemishes, blind people, the lame, those with flat noses, dwarves, people with scurvy, people with bad eyes, people with bad skin, and those who hath their stones broken. Given that God is technically responsible for giving people all these afflictions in the first place, this is an enormous move. This is Leviticus 21:17 through 24. I mean, you can go. I love this stuff. Ordering underlings to kill their own children, killing Egyptian babies, killing someone for not making more babies. Remember Onan? Remember Onanism? Remember this? I mean, this is my favorite. We just see these. I listen. You're entitled to your opinion, but Leviticus or the Pentateuch or the Old Testament is the last place I'd be going to. But nobody's ever read it or studied it, so whatever. Terry Schiavo, she suffered. How do you know? I don't know. Maybe she did. I don't. Whatever. I don't know. Well, why'd you say Terry Schiavo? I don't know why I said Terry. I thought maybe she did. I don't know. Maybe she did. Whatever. I don't know anything. What about the religion? I don't know. Here is the thing. The death penalty to more people means so much than you will ever understand. It's something that is so critical. And they need it. And they want it. And it's something that but from people who claim to be religious, people who claim to believe in the Word of God, people who believe in this thing called God. They really do. They say they do. They kind of sort of do. And they say an eye for an eye. Now, this dirtbag, he killed somebody when he was how old? In 88? I don't know. He went and think about this. He suffered the death penalty, was sentenced for the first time, had to live through that, said, sorry, go back. We can't find your vein. He had to go back again. So they said, I got something. We've got this thing right now called nitrogen, because they couldn't buy a lot of these drugs because some of the companies that made the drugs wouldn't sell them to you because you were being used to kill people. Now, may I ask you a question? May I tell you what I would do? What I would do? If you really want to do something, which I think would be very, very nice, very, very kind, very, very. What you would do is, have any of you ever, and I'm sorry to say this, ever had your dog put to sleep? It's the same process. Anybody ever have your dog put to sleep? Ever? You ever see that? You ever had a dog put to sleep? Sometimes you can hold your dog. It's one of the worst things you can ever do, but say, boop, that's it. Very painless. Painless. Boop. It's the way it should be. You don't want your dog to suffer. Boop. Right? I'll bet you there are people who that's what you feel almost like the executioner. You can't, even though your head tells you, I know what I'm doing is right. It's barbaric. Hold your dog, and your dog looks at you, and you have a toy, and you got to go home. I mean, it's just. But your dog says, your veterinarian says, I guarantee you, it's painless. We can't do that to a human. It's the easiest thing in the world. Do you know and by the way, they've got loads of these drugs. They got barbiturates left. Why do you think they don't do that? Answer my question. Why don't you think they do that? Why don't you think they do that? And the answer is because sometimes these people froth a little bit. And sometimes it may not be pretty. It might be easier for a dog, but sometimes for a human it's not. And they're worried about the witnesses. But the guy's in an agonal spasm, that's okay. There is no reason why we can't give the guy a bolus, some huge blast of barbiturates. He's gone. Do you understand this? It's just quick. It's fast. And the quickest of the quickest of the quickest that people have always suggested is the guillotine. Imagine using hydraulics. Some hydraulic, not the weight of the blade, just a hydraulic. Just that's it. Done. Falls into a basket. Close about. Thank you. Good night. That's it. See ya. Say good night, Gracie. very fast, very fast. But we don't like that. Why? Well, because that's too barbaric. That's too barbaric. I'm not trying to be punny here. I'm dead serious. If you want to kill the person, do that. Or maybe do something where the person wants to kill themselves by listening to a Jordan Peterson lecture on anything. Or maybe a debate between Candace Owens and Jordan Peterson on anything. The person will never kill again, with the exception of Candace. I mean, it's just there's no reason why we can't. I don't understand this. You don't need to go to some special no, we need pan-chromium bromide. We need potassium chloride and the Merck company. No, you don't need that. Go to the veterinarian. How much do you need to kill a 250-pound man? Not that much. IV, blast him. Let him go. Did you know one time there was a death penalty case where the person who was on the table had very thin. Oh no! Oh, sometimes because of the cold, it's very cold. Sometimes a lot of the people who are the most adept at drawing a vein or finding a vein, their doctors won't do it. Doctors cannot do it. It's Hippocratic oath. Some nurses won't do it. They had a guy one time who was himself a drug addict. He said, "I'll find a vein." He found his own vein. To find a vein sometimes for people who aren't really good at it. I don't understand what the big deal is. I don't understand. There's no. You can make a host of things. You're just out. You go nighty night, and later on you stop breathing, but you're out of it. The same way your little puppy goes. I don't want to keep bringing that up as an example, but it's simple. The mechanisms are the same. There's no drastic difference between this if that's what you really want to do. I don't understand it. And I don't understand why we don't kill people who rape children. I don't understand it. I think, wait a minute. This guy killed a woman, stabbed her, which is horrible, because the husband wanted to kill her so he could collect on the insurance policy. And he contracted, by the way, never contract with anybody. Don't do this. Just, it never works. But you mean to tell me they couldn't do that? But a girl who's raped? There was a guy in Tampa years ago. His name was here we go. There was a guy. Let me see. There was his name was listen to this one. Listen to this one. This was Larry Singleton in Tampa. Larry Singleton, Lawrence Singleton, who wrote his own unique chapter in the Annals of Depravity. When he chopped off the forearms of a California teenager, Mary Vincent, after raping her, he died of cancer in a Florida hospital. He didn't get the death penalty. Singleton, who was 74, this was in 2002, had been transferred to the hospital from Florida's death row. He was awaiting execution in 97. Oh, for the murder of a 31-year-old prostitute in Tampa. This is later on. He had a deeply ingrained hatred and dislike of women. If you could say this. And, here we go. Notorious was something of I'll never forget this. This is in Tampa. Singleton was reviled in California, and his victim, Mary Vincent, has spent the last 23 years in a series of nightmares, worried that someday Singleton would find her and the whole thing would start over. I mean, there are people, let me just let you know this, who are so depraved. They are so depraved, so depraved. And that's why I say to you, I personally don't have any kind of a problem with people being executed. I do not believe in what you would call a God. I do not believe I am irreligious. I'm not ghoulish myself. I'm very, I don't know what the word is, very clinical, very clinical when it comes to the notion of killing people. And in the case of raping children, if it has if it does have an effect, and the problem with the death penalty is that when the death penalty is enacted, murders don't go down, and when the death penalty is repealed, murders don't go up, so we don't know. But if it was somehow should be shown that rapists or molesters who face a death penalty, if this could save a child, I've got no problem with that whatsoever. None. Not because of God. There's no God in my book. I'm just asking whether I, as a human being, and I think that means something, whether I necessarily take any form of glee over this. Not really. But these are the things which I absolutely, positively want you to understand. There are people that are not human in terms of the sadism that they exhibit. And when I say human, I think it's almost like we have a kind of like a membership card that sometimes can be expunged. Because I know you have no problem with killing, because you will allow war. And war is the most depraved. I know people who would say, well, but they've got no problem going into Gaza or Syria or the Houthis and blasting them, or in celebrating a movie, Oppenheimer, that celebrates the killing of hundreds of thousands of people who had nothing to do with anything because of some thing called the war. Stand by for a second. I know this is a terrible topic, but it's important for us to know. This is called preparewithlionel.com. This is something you had better be thinking of right now. I cannot tell you. It's about emergency food. It's about the preservation of your life during horror. 2024, as I have stated and predicted, will be contentious, scary, and promises to blow your mind. It'll make 2023 look like a walk in the park, because the folks who run the show live for chaos and instability and panic. Your panic. Now, many of our problems could be solved overnight, but that defeats the purpose. Destabilization and chaos, that's the name of the game. Now, if you can handle the truth, and I know you can, you need to visit my website, preparewithlionel.com. Write this down, preparewithlionel.com. You'll get $200 off a much-needed and absolute best-selling 3-month emergency food kit from my Patriot Supply. Now listen carefully. This is the country's largest preparedness company. My Patriot Supply is your fighting chance at survival. And I don't use that word lightly, survival. Sealed inside 6 water-resistant buckets, these delicious meals, 22 varieties of tasty breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, you name it, last up to 25 years and provide over 2,000 calories per day. And we're talking 120 pounds of food. Eat right in emergencies with this 3-month food kit from My Patriot Supply. At this low price, you can get one for everyone in your family. Think about this. This is critical. So visit preparewithlionel.com right now. Order by 3 p.m. for free same-day shipping. Prepare right now at preparewithlionel.com. One more time. Go to preparewithlionel.com before chaos ensues. I was looking at this. The population of Hiroshima when the bomb was dropped was approximately 350,000. This figure includes residents, military personnel, people from surrounding towns and villages mobilized to demolish building, blah, blah, blah. The exact number of deaths from the atomic bomb is still unknown. Estimates place the number of dead by the end of December 1945, with the acute effects of radiation poisoning had largely subsided at roughly 140,000. Roughly 50% of those within 1.2 kilometers of the hypocenter are estimated to have died that day. 50%. Just, just, and we have an Academy Award maybe going to the celebration of this genius. This was not meant to revile Oppenheimer. It's not like Helter Skelter, where we obviously made Manson look like a bad guy. How demented is this? We talk about people, by the way, 28,000, I don't know, Gazans dead. But we then say, yes, but this man killed a woman and he must be killed because we don't want him to go to a prison where he has color TV. This is the part that I find fascinating. We are demented. We come up with these things. We make these things up. We have this sense of, I don't know what the word is. I don't know how to say these our sense of morality, if there is such a thing. It's the fact that we maintain these rules. We have these rules. What does it say about us? People don't care. That's the best part. Do you care as a human? Probably not. Like I said, I'm not losing any sleep over this guy. I'm not. Believe me, and I would absolutely have no problem whatsoever with the death penalty being completely abolished. 100%. Because you can't appeal an execution. I mean, you can do it theoretically, but it's... Whenever mankind does this collectively in a mob, whether it's in a mob who's yelling, some type of a collective effort to kill somebody, whether it's a lynching party, we as a society suffer. Our humanity suffers. And I know nobody wants to hear this, but it's true. We're animals. We are animals. And that little puppy that we have killed, that puppy, believe it or not, is more important and is more loving and is more caring and is more critical to our well-being than anything else. That puppy, that's a thing of beauty. These people are just, they're horrible. But what we do, how we sit back and I love the way they talk about Palestinians and Gazans like they're roaches. Have you heard that? Not everybody, but some people do. Oh, we're demented. That's all, dear friends. That's all. Think about this. That's all. Think about this. Think about who we are and think about whether we as a people are good or not. I don't know. Now, as far as tonight's evening show, there will not be an evening version of this. Might have one earlier during the day. I don't know. That's why it's critical for you to subscribe to the channel and for you to always hit that bell, because I might do one earlier today. Depends upon my schedule. I like these. I like these live because they bring out the best in you. They bring out the thinkers, the usual family members, and then the wannabe comics, and then the others. It's fascinating. And then the ones who just cannot communicate by virtue of the fact that I don't know half the time what they're saying. But I love that nonetheless. This is one of the most unique experiences that YouTube and social media platforms provide. The ability for people to say things that, frankly, I don't understand. But just remember one thing. We are animals. We are. In fact, we are beneath animals. Our animals, puppies, pets, those are sweet. They don't even kill me. They don't kill each other. Animals in the world kill because of predation, for food, sometimes for territory, but there's a reason for it. They don't kill because they've had a bad day or they have flashbacks or they had a rough going when they were kids. No, no, no. We do this. The highest member of the pecking order. We're animals. We are. And we're so ghoulish that we laugh at it. We get together, kind of like that mob mentality. But you've heard me say that enough. All right, dear friends, you have a great and glorious day. And comment as you see fit.